Hey everybody, today's words to live by are: instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask it the opposite way first. What's right with me? And those words are ones that I put together many moons ago. And I think what it really urges us all to do is to flip the question that too many of us ask off the bat, and to flip it into what's right with me instead of this, like, what's wrong with me. And I think we all, from time to time, have defaulted to that "what's wrong with me" question, where we spend so much time asking, like, why can't I get that problem right? Why am I not smart enough? Why do I not make enough money? Why am I not happy? All of these sort of things that are negative, that speak to what we think of ourselves. And I think it's not really our fault per se, because first of all, our mindset shapes our reality. And so when we're constantly asking what's wrong with us, we get into sort of this negative loop. But I think society really asks us that question quite a bit. And so I think there's some aspect of deprogramming that we have to do to flip the question into what's right with me. And what I mean by that is two things. I think we live in a self-improvement culture, right? And so I sort of look at a very basic example from when we were students and we're in school. Let's say that you got an A in math and you got a C plus in English. Where would everyone's attention, yourself, your parents, your teachers, where would your attention go to? The C plus in English, right? It would never be about, well, you got an A in math. Maybe you're a math genius. Maybe you're going to be an astrophysicist someday. Maybe you're supposed to take math into these heights and develop algorithms that have never been used before. It would never be that narrative. It would always be, how can we get that C plus in English to a B or a B plus or an A minus? Like, how do we work on that weakness? And so society programs us that way, right? And so I'm saying to you that that's mostly garbage, because if you want to become a self master at anything, it is going to come on the backs of whatever your strength is and whatever you feel your strength is. And I am proof positive of that too, because I had the same sort of thing in sports. And in a sport like tennis, you've got, obviously, you've got a good serve or a bad serve. You've got a good forehand, good backhand. One of them is probably a weakness. You have to work on your weakness to make sure nobody exploits it on the tennis court. And sort of a long time ago, I said, no, I feel really good about one or two of my shots as real strengths, and I'm going to ride that as far as I can. And I rode it way farther than I probably should have, but I rode that pretty far, and much farther than if I was stuck just working on my weaknesses all day. Not to mention, it wouldn't have been as much fun either. So I think that's the second point here, that society really sort of tells us to work on our weaknesses and not accentuate our strengths all the time. And I think often of the blend between today's reflection and a video I did in this series with a quote from Bruce Lee, the martial arts expert, where he said he fears the person who has done one kick 10,000 times versus the person who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time, right? And so that sort of underscores the same premise as what we're talking about here, where it takes you much farther and you're in a much better frame of mind when you accentuate your strengths and your positives and you work to maximize those strengths. Not very often will you have a weakness or sort of thought of weakness by either you or society at large. Not very often will you be able to turn that weakness into something solid, into a strength, into something that becomes something you're a master at. But much more often you're able to sort of propel forward with those strengths that you have in a much bigger way than you would have otherwise. And so whatever your strength is, whatever is right with you, make a list. You think about what you have in your soul and what your personality traits are that you feel really good about, or maybe physically what you feel really good about. Start to sort of take inventory, not about what's wrong with you, because the whole world will tell you that, but about what's right with you. and then see how far that can take you in whatever it is you want to accomplish or whatever you want to try. So the takeaway, again, is focus on what's right, and that's where growth begins. Friendly reminder, Words to Live By book is out. It's on Amazon. I'll repost the link in the description. And if you enjoyed today's reflection, please like and/or subscribe, and I will see you all again very soon.